Oh hey guys, what's up? You kind of caught me here in my little vlogging area. You may have noticed that today there's no fancy photo shoot, no fancy travel vlog, just me and my viewers having a heart-to-heart because I have a question. How many of you photographers give out your raw photos? If you answered yes, that's okay, no judging, but let me advise you to stop. Because in my humble opinion, there is no reason to ever give out raw files, especially for paid work. And yes, even if your client keeps asking over and over, it's okay to say no. And I'll explain why. And if you're a client that expects those untouched photos, don't worry, I got you covered too, because honestly, maybe it's something that we as photographers are doing that may cause some bad expectations to be set with clients. Like for example, maybe this is the client's first photo shoot, and during the session, they hear the camera snap 1,000 pictures, but then wonder why they only get 10 edits. Or maybe the photographer isn't confident that their set number of delivered photos justifies their price. So to compensate, they give away all their raw files. So yeah, maybe it's something that we as photographers can do better. But first, let's back up a bit. Because what is a raw photo? That can cause confusion because people might assume that all photos are the same, but they aren't. Because when I say raw photo, I don't mean raw like a raw piece of meat. That's kind of gross. RAW is actually a file format, and a raw image file is just that, a file, not a photo. It's a file that contains data which gives you all the flexibility you need to edit in post-production. Because when you take that photo and look at the back of your camera, you're not actually seeing the photo you took. Well, okay, technically you are, but what I mean is that what you're seeing is actually a thumbnail that your camera generated, essentially just to let you get a sense of your composition. But what the camera actually did was collect a whole bunch of additional image data in a file, a raw image file. Data for the color, data for the contrast, lens corrections, shadows, highlights, all of it. All these pieces that make up your photo. But what's cool is that all these pieces are pretty much unglued or uncooked, which means you're still able to, let's say, adjust the blue in the sky or bring out shadows in someone's dark brown hair without affecting the actual detail or color of the hair. It allows those pixel adjustments to be made to the image without breaking the image. Like, okay, here's an example. It might be a bad example, but hopefully this helps. Okay, so we've all tried to add filters over a cell phone picture and realized that the further we adjust that slider, the uglier the picture might get. Sometimes. That's because that cell phone picture is a JPEG file and not a RAW file. That means all that data, those ingredients I mentioned, are not available because those ingredients in a JPEG file are cooked and baked in. And because of that, you're unable to make those more dynamic adjustments. So when you try to make those adjustments, you'll notice the image quality break apart faster the further you push it. So, with that being said, why is it bad to give out a raw photo? And what if you don't care? Well, that's your prerogative, but let me tell you why you should care. Especially if you take your work serious and especially if it's paid work. Imagine paying to go see a movie only to find that the special effects in that movie aren't finished. Well, that's kind of the same thing. And I pretty much just described Black Panther. But look, many photographers shoot in a specific way when shooting in a raw file format because they know beforehand that to get the best look for a certain type of photo that they need to expose their image a certain way on the shoot. Now that exposure may not look ideal when viewing the thumbnail on the back of the camera, but that photographer knows that he or she took that photo in that specific way because they're trying to achieve a certain look when they make their adjustments in post-production. Now let's be clear. This is not the same thing as fixing in post. No. If you can, try to nail the shot in camera, and if you're always fixing things in post, well then that's a different conversation. Example, a lot of photographers purposefully underexpose their shots whenever there's a lot of sky involved. This way that bright sunny sky isn't too bright and there's still some semblance of clouds, color, or maybe a building in the background. But when this happens, usually whatever is not the sky in that picture, like for instance a model in the foreground, that model is now probably going to be very underexposed because your exposure was set specifically to make sure the sky wasn't too bright. So if a client sees that thumbnail on the back of the camera, they might question why it's so dark and if it's a mistake. Well, no it's not. Because that photographer knows it's a raw file, and because of that, they know they're able to bring out those dark shadows in post-production. And this happens all the time with raw photos, because they are unfinished and often look flat or dull or underexposed, and they don't represent the final image. And let's be honest here, you're being paid for the final image. Or I hope you are. And if you're not, then get paid because it's your passion. When you give out those untouched raw files, you're diluting your value as a photographer, especially if you take your work serious. I mean, look, it's like being this world-renowned chef and then someone orders your signature dish off the menu. You aren't gonna give them something undercooked, are you? And as a customer, if you ordered that specific dish, you wouldn't want that chef to deliver something to you undercooked for the price you paid, right? Unless you like undercooked food, which is gross, but I don't judge. And that probably also means you're eating at Applebee's. So what do you do if your client needs every photo from the shoot? Well, if you can, say no. But if it's crucial to the project that they receive all those files, then just talk with them. And you can even have them sign a contract going over the terms of what's delivered. For me, I've noticed the power of choice alleviates most of the client's needs to receive all the pictures. If I send them a gallery of low-res watermark photos and let them pick the ones I edit, they tend to walk away happier because, again, they were given the power of choice. Okay, so anyways, with that being said, I hope this video helps photographers and even clients understand the value of photography. But if you liked the video, leave a comment, something nice. But until next time, bye.